welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah and this is So Beauty Stuff. So as you can probably tell from the title, I'm here today to talk to you about the brand Morphe. So I did a video a little while ago about the Morphe makeup brush set, and I've had quite a lot of good feedback on that video of people saying it's good to hear people being honest about the Morphe brushes. They're hit and miss. So I will link down to the video that I'm referring to. These are 4 of the brushes that I talked about not liking, that I actually just don't use. I've removed them completely from the kit. I have added a whole bunch of new brushes in there as well. I'll link to another video I did, which is an update on my makeup artist kit, where I talk about what new brushes I've put in there. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is some of their palettes. I have 5 of their palettes here. So I'll go through these and let you know what I think about them. So first up is the Brow8 palette. So as the name suggests, it is a brow palette. These 2 pans here, you've got one which is, I believe, a wax or a gel. As you can see, it's just got powder stuck all over it. It should have had something over it potentially to protect it. So that's kind of now become pretty unusable. And this concealer palette here, again, it's great to have a concealer, but if you've got this variety of brow colours, why they thought that there would be one concealer to go with every skin tone, I don't know. So it's not that they're bad, it's just I don't really see the point of them being in this palette. I think a gel would have worked great, but not when you've got a whole load of powders in there. But to be honest, that's where the negatives end for me with this palette. I actually really enjoy this palette and the colours that come with it. I found that they've worked for blonde, they've worked obviously for the darker colours. As you can see, there is a fair bit of fallout in there, so you do have to be careful with that. But yeah, they do work really nicely. This serves me really well. I find that it works for pretty much everyone. This mixture of shades is really good, and you can mix and match them as well, which I find works really well. Yep, Morphe, I like this one. Probably wouldn't bother with these 2 on the end, as you can tell. Unusable, really now. The next palette I have is the 9C. So this is a contour palette. I'm just not blown away by this. This highlighter is okay. It's very chunky. Rub it in, you can't really see anything. You've got 4 really nice contour shades in there. I do think they're not the easiest to work with. They're quite chunky. All of these powders are really chunky. When you put your brush in there, you get a lot of fallout. You have to be really careful when putting it on the skin not to put too much, and you have to blend quite a bit to get a natural shadow. They are usable, they're not easy to work with, and I am replacing this with Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit because I use that for myself and I find that to be a really great palette, and it's got some really nice shades. I wouldn't use any of these highlight colours. Too chunky to wear under the eyes. Really orange. I just don't know when I'd ever want to put orange on someone's face. I wouldn't rebuy. So the next palette is the 9N. This is a blush palette. Straight off the bat, I really love the selection of blushes in here. I think there's a really nice colour. I think there's a colour for almost everyone. This middle colour looks really beautiful in the pan. So everything about this, in theory, I love. In practice, much like the contour palette, you have to work with these. They don't work easily for you. So when you dip your brush in here, you get a whole lot of fallout. It's really easy to put way too much on the cheek, so you do have to be really careful with how much you pick up and really build it very gradually and blend it very gently. I'll do some swatches really quickly. So here, I've done this in the most awkward way possible. Here are the colours that you get in the palette. Some of them have not very great pigment. Some of them are really chunky. I actually have another blush palette. It's the Chi Chi Ombre Blush Palette, I think it's called. I did a review on that one. I much prefer it to this one. It's much easier to work with. You don't want it to be suddenly a bright blush across the cheek that you can't reverse, because you can always add more, you can't take it off. Okay, so now on to the eyeshadow palettes. This is what Morphe is most famous for. So I've got two here. I've got the 35OS and the 35K. So obviously you get 35 shades, which is really, really good. And I really like the colour selection here. Got quite a nice balance of shimmers to mattes, which I do like. And in theory, a great palette. But I'm not gonna lie, the colour payoff is not consistent across the whole palette. My trusty Morphe brush again, because it's right here. Like, that is such a cool colour, and the colour payoff is really nice on that. Then let's go for something like this sort of sparkly black. It just doesn't come out. You can see how much fallout there is there. So two very, very different finishes. This creamy kind of colour here. Quite a nice matte that's actually turned out really pretty on the hand. Just sort of swamped in all the fallout from this other colour. Would be quite a nice transition shade. And then let me go in with, say, this brown. I can see that I've used this quite a bit. As you can see, again, there was tons of fallout there. Like, quite an excessive amount of fallout. That's what I mean when I say these are hard to work with. For me, the shimmer colours in here come out great. I'll pick up another one. I'll pick up this one here. I don't think I've ever used this one. Let's try. As you can see with the shimmers, it's obviously a different formula. I got literally no fallout with that one. And the colour payoff is really nice. Yeah, fallout's a big problem. Inconsistency is a problem. And it's hit and miss. So yes, you're getting a great bargain, getting 35 shades for the price, but in reality, the amount of these I'd actually be able to use isn't fantastic. And last but not least is the 35OS. So I actually ended up choosing this palette because of a review I saw by Glam Life Guru, Tati. And she said she'd been quite disappointed in one of the Morphe palettes, but then she tried this one and the quality was a bit more consistent in this one. And from my test from the last palette, you could see the shimmers were the best ones, and these are all shimmers. Let's just test out a couple of these. We'll go for this orange. So while the colour payoff isn't maybe as amazing as some of the others, you have got a gorgeous orange shimmer. Again, it's not hugely pigmented, but you are getting a nice shimmer. Go for this almost olivey kind of colour here. And let's not forget, I am using a brush that I dislike. That was a really nice colour payoff. Go for this colour here. Oh, okay, this is chunky. We've got huge chunks coming up on the brush. But then it's not falling, there's not too much fallout on the application, and that colour payoff is great. I think the finish of the Shimmer palette is a lot more consistent. Yeah, I don't really have an issue with this palette. I don't regret buying this one. So out of the 5 palettes I own, the 2 that I use the most are the Brow8 and the 35OS. Probably the only 2 that I would repurchase as well. Again, this is what I mean about Morphe. Hit and miss. So wouldn't repurchase 3, would repurchase 2. Out of the 5 things I've tried, you know, I think when I was building up my kit, Morphe was really attractive to me because you could get a lot for your money. Knowing what I know now, would I use Morphe again? To be honest, I think the inconsistency in the quality of their products, I'd probably say no, I wouldn't. I have a lot of brands that I know and trust, that I feel like every product I buy from them, I know what I'm getting. I hope you found this video useful. This is purely a constructive review rather than putting a brand down. I've not had any problems with customer services or shipping or anything like that. And also no negative on those that do support the brand or it is their favorite brand. Each to their own. Everyone's got their own opinion, and I'm just putting mine out there. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video and I hope it's been useful to you. I'd really love to hear from you if you have had an experience with their product, whether it be positive or negative. I'd really love to know if you've got any of their products that you think would change my mind. Leave me a comment. If you have liked this video, give me a thumbs up so I know that you've enjoyed it. And if you do want to subscribe to my channel, that'd be awesome. It's free. It's a great support for me. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!